Okay, Shabbat Shalom, Mishpahah. This is Rabbi Kifa coming in from home base here in San Antonio, Texas. If I can be heard, can I get a 1, please, Mishpahah? We're going to get ready fired up here to dock your responses. Oliver, Viva la France. Eddie's, Shabbat Shalom to you. Adelia, Abrahu, I think you're still there in California. Shabbat Shalom to you as well from Cali. All the rest of the Mishpahah, Shabbat Shalom. I don't want to leave anybody outside. I wish all of you a Shabbat Shalom, Mishpahah. Yael, woman of the tent, Shabbat Shalom to you. All of you, I wish you all Shabbat of Shabbats. Now, I did a query earlier about how many of you are celebrating Yom Kippur now. We're in Yom Kippur now. If that's you, put up a capital K. If you're celebrating Yom Kippur, I am. I'll put up a capital K here for myself. I'm in Shabbat. I'm celebrating Yom Kippur now as we speak. I'm enjoying the festival of Yom Kippur. To offer your responses, by the way, and if you're not, no worries. I like to follow Hanak's calendar because I can, and it's feasible for me to do so. You know, Jeremiah chapter 6 verse 16 tells us to go back to the ancient and forever ways, the ancient ways of our forefathers. So that's what I want to do. I want to go as far back as I can go when it comes to calendars, and I know it may not be feasible for some of you to do so, and we do understand that. That's why you feel the flexibility that we have and the freedom that we have within the Torah, to where you can celebrate Yom Kippur whenever you feel it's convenient and suitable for you to do so. You know, a lot of folks like to get their underoos in a bunch because they cannot celebrate it on this time or that time or the other. And this is a holy convocation, a set apart time, a set apart feast day, to where we come together and we don't feast, but we actually do feast, because we eat from the heavenly, the angel food, from the manna that comes from heaven, and we partake of the waters, of the living waters of the God of Israel. Baruch Hashem. Does it get any better than that, Mishpahah? I mean, my goodness, I'm in the state of Texas where we love barbecue, and I don't care. The best brisket cannot even touch, you know, the living waters of the Most Highest, the living waters of source energy, and the manna, being fed the manna, the angel food that comes from heavens. Baruch Hashem. Isn't that beautiful, Mishpah? I think that's marvelous. So every time my stomach is growling right now, my goodness, that's you know, I revert back to the forever ways of my forefathers, and how far along we have come, and how far along we have to go. Now, life is truly wonderful, isn't it, Mishpah? Life is beautiful, and Hakohin gave me this song, and I really do play it a lot. This song is called "I Love My Life." How many of you heard that song? I can't remember who the artist is, but the title is "I Love My Life," and that's beautiful. And I would encourage all of you to Google that song title and play that song. It's really motivating, it's really uplifting, and it really puts everything back into focus, as sometimes we run away from life and we get caught up in all these other things called bills and jobs and all the emotional balls that we run into sometimes, and we forget about the true essence of life. And Moses, you know, the Torah of Moses, the Torah of Musa, he talks about this in his parsha. As we deal with Nitzvarim, he talks about this as well, the importance of life and what life really is at the end of the day. And for us, it's a life of a higher calling and a higher standard, because we're covenant life members, Baruch Hashem. It's a lifetime covenant that we have with the God of Israel, with source energy, with God, Baruch Hashem, and that's beautiful, isn't it? So you should use this time. You should use this time to reflect on that, to repent and ask for forgiveness if you've wronged anyone. Especially, you know, even if you're coming up on your Yom Kippur and you haven't started, really set the stage for yourself. Patricia, Shabbat Shalom to you and welcome. Use this time to set the stage for yourself and clean your slate out, and go to your neighbor, go to your friend, go to anyone that you may have offended, seek forgiveness. You know, it takes a bigger person to come and ask for forgiveness than to be asked for forgiveness. You know what I mean? So be the bigger person and go and humble yourself. Truly, eat some of that humble pie and become more like our forefather Moses, who was known for being what? Humble. Baruch Hashem. Because he was so humble. That was one of the greatest characteristics, great character traits that we should all strive for. We can always eat more humble pie and ask for forgiveness if you've wronged anyone in any kind of way. So you can clean your slate, Mishpachah. We only do this once a year, family, where we come together as Israel. We're not looking at color, creed, and all this other mumbo-jumbo, but if you consider yourself Israel, then this is a high Shabbat of all Shabbats, the Shabbat of Shabbats, the way you come and you seek repentance, and you clean your slate before the God of Israel, and you clean your slate before humanity first. Remember, if you want to correct your parallel, if you want to correct your vertical with the God of Israel, first He wants you to correct your parallel. You have to correct the things that are around you that can be fixed, and then your vertical will be just fine. Baruch Hashem. Robbie Williams is the artist of that song, I Love My Life. Tada for that, Daniel. I would encourage all of you to, download this song. It's a beautiful song that you can play every day, and it puts things into perspective. Really, really does. I sing it to my little newborn, Nakshan. I sing it to him all the time. I love my life. I want him to love his life as well. And Torah is what? Torah is life. So when you're doing your fast and you're afflicting your soul at this time, isn't it beautiful? You afflict your soul and you put things back into perspective. And you see what's really important about life. Life is beautiful. Life is wonderful. And you should all love your life, Mishpachah. I tell you this as a humble teacher and student of a Kohen, of the son of Aaron. And I tell you this in all love and humility, and in all joy as well. Because how many of you, your stomach is growling right now? I know mine is. I had some lion growls come out last night. But then I said, you know what, stomach, so what? You're subjugated to me and to my will. I'm not subjugated to your will. Same way with my mind. I use the mind as a wonderful tool that it is. And I'm not in mind control mode. I don't let my mind control me. No, I control and use that wonderful super equipment that we've been equipped with called the mind. And I use it to empower myself and to embolden myself and to strengthen myself. You see, I don't come at it and let my mind say, oh no, here we go again, had to do this fast. You're not going to make it. You're going to miss out all this good deals and blah. How you going to survive without water for 24, 25 hours? Blah. There's no time for the mumbo jumbo. There's just no time for it. I give no room. I give no oxygen to this type of misbehavior, as I consider it, within my own self, because I do have control. And all of you do have control as well. We continue to gain more control as we desire and aspire to live our particular way of life, because it is a way of life. It's a beautiful way of life. It's a beautiful way to live when you go back and you adapt the ways of our forefather Abraham, the ways of our forefather Yitzhak, and the ways of our forefather Jacob, the ways of our forefathers. So I think it's so very important that we consider these things going forward and really utilize this time. After you reflect, after you make your repentance, after you give your rejoicing for our set apart festivals and our feast days that we have, and particularly this one, Yom Kippur, and that you don't come to this festival empty-handed, and that you do give your offering to the Kohen in the gate, who is Simon Altaf in our gate, and you do all the necessaries that you need to do, and you do start your clean slate. This time, when sunset, this time you're finished and your slate is clean for another year. We're not like these religions out here where they go about and I remember in Catholicism, I was going once a week into the confessional booth. You know what that is. You go to that confessional booth and you tell the priest all of your wrongdoings. How many times I had to go in there and tell him, okay, here I am again. Here I am again, priest. And yeah, I went in that 7-Eleven and I stole that taffy out of the 7-Eleven. And he said, okay, no worries. Say your Hail Mary 3 times and 2 Our Fathers. And then it was the same old thing over and over again. I went back in, the same next week. Oh yeah, I'm back again, priest. And yeah, I had to go in there. I was tempted and I went in there and I stole some more of those taffies from 7-Eleven. So, it was the same old thing over and over. And I was like, wow. My goodness. I said, this is easy. And it just gave me a license to go back and steal some more taffies from the 7-Eleven. Because why? Because all I have to do is go in there and say my Hail Marys and my Our Fathers, and it's all good. I got a clean slate for another week. I got another week of stealing I can do. But yeah, those were the days. Those were the days, and I truly I embraced those times as well, Mishpah, because it was during those times that all these different religions. I understand that religion is broken. It's just a system. It's a broken record, and it just plays the same old thing over and over and over again. During this time as well, as I look over here in the sofa over here in my study, and I have Nakshan in his bounce over here. He's fast asleep, and I truly give thanks, and I give thanks to the God of Israel that I can stand up and I can, as the humble leader of my household, stand up and I can cover Nakshan, and I can cover my daughter Angela, and I can cover my dog Pharaoh, and I can cover my wife Sophia. I can cover them as the covering of this household. I can be their the Kaporah, their covering. Baruch Hashem. Isn't that beautiful? As we celebrate Yom Kippur, I want to mention something to you. And by the way, before I be remiss if I didn't say this, HaKohen he's safe. He's established comms with me. He's on the ground over there, and he's truly happy and humble and enjoying life and enjoying his time over there in Pakistan with his family. His father lives in Pakistan as well, so he's back. He's back home. He's back to his roots. He was born in Pakistan, so he's back to his roots over there, and he's really enjoying himself. I do have a queued up lecture that I will play in a minute. I will let you know and inform you off the top that this is not going to be a long lecture today. It's going to be quite short, so we can all get back into our Yom Kippur mode of repentance and rejoicing and remembrance and truly giving thanks. And if you're not in your Yom Kippur mode, then you can begin to prepare yourselves for your Yom Kippur mode as well. So we'll utilize this time to do that as well. It's not going to be much talking today. So I just want to prepare you for that as well. But I do have a lecture queued up from my Kohen. I do have a report on the ground that I will play as well. And so, yeah, he's on the ground and he's doing his necessaries as well. Tada Rabbah for all of your support that you do give the Kohen in the gate. It's very important that we not forsake our Kohen in the gate. Mishpah, we're Israel. We have to stand up. We're covenant people. Moses, he explains this in our parsha to us as well. He said, you're covenant people. You're a different breed. You walk in a different step. Your heart beats to a different drum. And that's beautiful. And I'm not trying to segregate us, but I'm just trying to show you how special you really are. You're covenant people. And so you have a mandate and you have a mission where you have to uphold and you have to walk in all humility and all humbleness and all happiness in a different kind of way with humanity today. There should be a difference in you than the people that are around you. Because we were dispersed in this exile, not as a curse, but as a blessing, to be a blessing to all these nations where you're dispersed in. Do you hear that, Oliver? You're a blessing to the nation in France. You're a blessing to the French people. You're a blessing to the people that are around you. Those of you who are here in Texas, you're a blessing to Texas. Those of you who are in all these other states as well, these countries, you're a blessing. If you want to name your country, I'll name it as well. Wherever you're dispersed in the UK, you're a blessing to the UK. You're a blessing to United Kingdom, to Britain. Baruch Hashem. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And that's how you ought to see yourself. Don't conform and don't succumb to the conditioning of these nations that we're in. We're set apart people. We're blessed people. We're on a total different plane, a total different level. And that's truly, truly great. And that's truly, truly admirable. But to whom much is given, much is required. Much is required of you if you're going to uphold and you're going to take this yoke of Torah upon you. There's a requirement. One of the requirements is Yom Kippur. That's part of the requirement. It's mandated for us to do this. Just like it's permitted for us to eat certain foods. And it's not permitted for us not to eat. It's permitted for you and it's mandated by the covenant laws for you to uphold our holy convocations, our set apart times, our high feast days. And you don't do it And you don't do it in all fatness and kicking and screaming. No, you come full of joy, full of peace, full of happiness as you afflict your souls during this time. And you put things back into perspective. And it's a beautiful thing to do, because we can always go for a realignment, right, Rabbi Zechariah? You can always bring that car in and get a realignment so you can drive straight. And that's important, because I don't know about you, Mishpachah, but I want to drive straight. As straight as I can drive straight. My goodness. With technology out today, my goodness, these driverless cars, I want to get in that mode to where I'm not in cruise control, but the car can drive itself. That's what I want to get. I want to get to that point, you see, to where I can always, and we can get there, but it just takes time. It takes a lot of determination. It takes a lot of grit, and it takes a lot of work upon your part. Because as you all know, we've been given this beautiful gift of the Torah. But you understand, when you examine and you look at our history, that the Torah is not free. I gave my son the name Nachshon for a reason. And Nachshon, and I invoke his name when I say his name, Nachshon, he realized that the Torah wasn't free. Nachshon had to jump into the water for this Torah. He had to jump into the sea. Maybe Nachshon couldn't swim, but he was told. He was told to go forward, and he did go forward. And he was rewarded and blessed for going forward. Nachshon jumped into the water. So, believe me, Nachshon will be the first to tell you. If we can talk to him from the grave, and we can, you can, he'll tell you, Torah is not free. It requires work upon our part. It requires doing things that may be unconventional to some. It may not seem conventional for you to, why do you fast 25 hours, 24 hours? What is that? Why do you do that? You shouldn't have to do that. You're free. You live under grace. Jesus is, I don't want to hear that spiel, the mumbo jump. There's no time for that. I'm covenant people, so this is what I do. You live under grace, I'm happy for you. I'm happy for you. Go and chase your grace to the end of the rainbow. I'm truly happy for you. But me, I live under a standard, God-given standard, a covenant standard that was given to our family, to our forefathers. And I'm going to uphold that standard here in 2019 going forward. And I'm going to teach it to my sons and my sons' sons going forward. That's what I'm going to do. And, you know, that song, I Love My Life, he talks about that. He said, sometimes you may, things may not go right, may not go your way. And he begins to explain things like he's trying to pass something on to his children, his children's children. At the end of the day, you need to love your life. Truly have a respect for life and livelihood and those that are around you. Isn't that beautiful, Mishpachah? That's the point of where we need to get to. Truly, truly need to get to. Daniel's saying spiritual realignment and even physical realignment with our spine, which has a great health benefits to function in life and feel good physically. So we see a good chiropractor. We all need it, and I say, Baruch Hashem, Master Yahweh, Master Yeshua. Oh, indeed, Baruch Hashem. There's time for correction. There's time for alignment. And then you just keep going. Like Rabbi Bani always says, when you go through hell, you just keep walking. But when you're in heaven, you still keep walking. You don't settle. You don't say, oh, okay, now that I have reached the pinnacle, I've reached the climax, now I can rest. No, the work has just begun, Mishpachah. The work for us has just begun. We're to be a light continually to the nations. We're not to ever dimmer. We're not to ever fade. So that requires us having our day of rest. The Shabbat is so very important to us. But then when we associate the Shabbat with a festival as well, a high holy day, a high set-apart day, the Shabbat of all Shabbats, Yom Kippurim, where we can come and make atonement. Oh, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. That's wonderful, isn't it? So I would encourage all of you to examine yourselves this Shabbat. Shabbat of all Shabbats. Or if you haven't gotten into your Yom Kippur mode, prepare yourself for examination. Make things right with those that are around you. Remember, you want to correct your vertical, you want your vertical straight, fix your horizontal. Fix your relationship with those that are around you. Because remember this, at the end of the day, the Master Yahweh created everything that's around you. That is part of His creation. That neighbor you hate, guess what? The Master Yahweh created that neighbor. So don't hate him. Respect God's creation. Show love and compassion. The Master Yeshua summed it up so simple. He said, what good is it? I'm paraphrasing, but he said, what good is it for you to love those that love you? What good comes out of you loving those that love you? How about you go love those that hate you, that despise you, that want to kill you? Believe if looks could kill, I'd have been dead a long time ago. Because there's people, they want to kill. They hate for what you stand for. They hate your color. They hate the curly hair. They hate the locks. They hate the straight hair. They hate how you speak. They hate how you walk. People are going to hate for whatever reason. But that's not our remit, Mishpachah. Our remit is to bring love and compassion and joy and infuse the earth. Because we've been given dominion over this earth, remember that. And infuse the earth with peace, love, joy, harmony, happiness. That's what we should be doing. Don't conform and get in the hate group camps, because there's no need for that. We're too busy on the other side. We're too busy on the heavenly side and wanting to bring this heaven. And I do have heaven here on this earth. I don't know about you guys, but I have heaven now. I don't need to wait for heaven. Heaven for me is right now. I'm presently heavenly. Because, ain't that beautiful? I'm presently heavenly. And that's a wonderful thing. As I look at my son snoring away over there in perfect peace. Perfect peace. I do the same as well. Yes, I have many functions in my household. One is the covering, and one to give my wife a covering that she needs to rest and recuperation. So Nachan is over here with me. He's with me right now in my office, snoring away in his bouncer. And I love that. That I can take on many roles because men are strong. Our arms are strong, aren't they? We can do many things. We can walk and eat food at the same time. It's no problem for us. We can multitask, and we can make things happen because we are the covering. That kaporah, that covering. Now, I'm going to go into our Kohen's update, and then we'll talk on the other side of it. Read a little words from read some big words from our Torah, laws of Moses, and then we'll shut it down early today, so you all can get back into your Yom Kippur and your festival at hand. Okay, Mishpah, you still with me? So I'm gonna need your response here. I'm gonna need your response as I make sure that this as I queue up this recording. I want to make sure you all can hear it clearly, and please let me know something with a text if you're not hearing it clearly, if it's not coming in. Okay. So we're gonna play Kohen's recording that he has for us. Okay. Hey, luxury class, Shabbat shalom to you. Shabbat shalom to you, luxury class. Okay. Here we go. Here we go. Let me play this for you. And please let me know if you cannot hear it, okay? And I can make some adjustments on my end. Let's see.
Shabbat Shalom, the awesome tribes of Israel. Baruch Hashem Yahweh, Baruch Hashem Master Yeshua. This is Rabbi Simon. This is Simon Altaf HaKohen on my travels. And I'm recording this particular lecture as I travel. I'm in the kind of middle of my journey still. Although I have reached part of destination, but I've still got to do quite a lot of work over here. So just to brief you on this, I had a very fruitful journey, Baruch Hashem Yahweh. In fact, even in the places where I was probably going to queue up, at the airport and various places, I was given favor and I was put ahead of the queue, and I was carrying probably luggage that was over the capacity. I was carrying luggage slightly over the capacity because I had to carry a lot of gifts for family over here, and all my luggage, in spite of the fact that I had to change 3-4 planes, all of my luggage arrived safely, and I was able to pick up everything and bring it home safely. Baruch Hashem Yahweh, the family arrived to pick me up, in their car at the airport. So everything was hunky-dory, although I arrived probably 2 hours ahead of schedule, because I had given them a different time, but my flight was way early, and things kind of turned out a lot better than I'd expected. So Baruch Hashem, Yahweh for that. And so I wanted to brief you that before I give you further testimony, well, I guess I can here, is that before I give you the testimony, I'll give you the joke of the day or the week. And the joke goes like this. Joe asked God, how much is a penny worth in heaven? And God replied, $1 million. And then Joe asked, how long is a minute in heaven? And God said, 1 million years. So Joe asked for a penny, and God said, sure, in a minute. Now our Parsha today, as you know, is Nitzvavim, and we're going to probably look at that a little bit. But before I look at that Parsha, I'll give you a little bit of testimony on my journey, and then I want to look at something else before I look at the Parsha itself, which is going to be discussing about holding a grudge and trying to do a revenge on somebody else. I thought that might be a pertinent subject to discuss today, as we're kind of coming to almost to the end of the year's reading of the Torah. And that's another great subject to discuss, at least, in the usual finale of the year. But in the meantime, what I wanted to say is this, that as I landed in the country, the same day I landed and I came here, and I was in my relative's house, and somebody phoned me from another city and asked me, who knew me, they said, are you guys okay, because there was an earthquake. I said, really? I didn't feel anything about an earthquake over here. And there was an earthquake, actually. It was about 5.8 on the Richter scale. And it did some damage where the earthquake happened, the epicenter, which is, I guess it was probably close to northwest somewhere, and a place called Mirpur. And so they had a little bit damage over there. The roads were damaged, the cars were turned over, and they fell apart because the roads broke. A couple of the bridges over there broke, and so I guess the people, the army people and the local people, they're kind of gone out to help and see the damage and what's going down with all these things that are happening. So as you know, with the earthquake, there was a bit of damage, but as I've said many times before, that whenever a Kohen speaks, the land in a city, in a country, it can be of two things. It can mean a judgment to that nation, or it can mean a blessing to that nation, or to that city, or to that household, wherever he enters. And I really don't see this personally right at this point as a judgment, but I do see that there is changes occurring in this country, and big changes are going to occur over here. And I feel that my coming over here is going to probably hasten those changes. And I know that any house that I've entered in this country so far has brought a real blessing to those households, that's for sure. And so therefore, I don't really see it in any particular negative order, and I don't see that why God would break houses of poor people who are struggling. God is not into the business of destroying families, because God makes families. And I personally believe, as per the Torah, that God only wants to do good to the people, to His own people, and to the people of the nations. Henceforth, my belief is centered around God always being good, and everything having a purpose in the world where God can bring things about. So I do see a purpose in this, and now that I have to travel within the country, I have to go a few different cities, and my kind of plans are very fluid. I don't have, I did have kind of like pencil plans, what I'm supposed to do, but my pencil plans will change by the hour, more than likely, depending on the situation with different families and when they can see me or when they want to see me. All of that is going to occur in the next few days. I've been invited to speak in a church already. I've been invited to do a seminar already. And I've just about landed in the country, and invitations are coming in left, right and center. And they know that a Kohen is coming to the country. People know that over here that I'm a Kohen. They know that a Kohen has arrived, and they're all asking for me to go see them. Now, the only problem is that they're in different cities. And these cities are hours apart in journey time, 5-6 hours, maybe sometimes longer periods apart. So I'm kind of sitting over here in the northwest frontier. Let me tell you something about the northwest frontier. This is known as the most hostile region, or one of the most hostile regions in the world. And General Mattis, he said that this country is the most dangerous country in the world. Although I can understand that why General Mattis said that, based on the war that America has been fighting in Afghanistan for the last 21 or so years, and based on the Taliban infighting and outfighting with the nations over here. I guess, when I say nations, I mean the allied nations. Having said that, I do understand that, although I don't personally agree that Pakistan is the most dangerous country in the world, although I guess from a military point of view, with the conflict going on in Afghanistan, I think there are regions in this country that can be qualified as dangerous, because here, like in America, you're allowed to have guns, and people do carry weapons here, and there are things going on. So based on that, I do understand his point of view of why he said it's dangerous. But having said that, we do believe, as per our Torah and our laws, that God's protection is upon His people wherever they go, dangerous or not dangerous. And that's basically how we move, based on our understanding and our laws. As I was telling you, I had great favor along the way. I traveled in American Airlines, then I traveled in some Middle Eastern airlines, and I had absolutely no problems getting around, and I had favor all the way, Baruch Hashem Yahweh. So it was great favor. I'm here, and now from here I will do the necessaries, meet with the necessary people that are appointed. Now I wanted to speak about holding a grudge or wanting revenge from people that have wronged us in some way, shape or form, because often enough, as you know, that in humanity, when somebody wrongs another, the first thing that people want to do is take revenge, or get their own back, and tit for tat and kind of thing. And also the commandments that we have in the Torah and the law of God is that it talks about eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth, which unfortunately is way misunderstood by the Gentiles. They think that it means that if somebody punched me, I got to punch them back. But that's not what the commandments are about. But then again, I'm not referring to those particular set of commandments. They have a totally different meaning and outlook on life versus what most people think. I had a discussion with a Christian in Pakistan regarding tooth for tooth and eye for eye, and they understood that to mean that Jesus of Nazareth came and said that turn the other cheek. And I explained to this person that Jesus is turning the other cheek has absolutely nothing whatsoever to do with eye for eye and tooth for tooth, which are totally explicit separate commandments, and they have to do with justice and not blinding somebody, which is not the intent. So I explained to them that the intent is not to blind somebody or knock somebody's tooth out so they can go to the dentist, which I kind of find funny myself, because I didn't see a whole bunch of blind people in Israel, or a whole bunch of people with tooth knocked out in Israel. I've never seen that. There is no history in our books, in the Talmud or in our Mishnah, that says that, hey, this person knocked this person's tooth out and he knocked the other ones out, vice versa. And this person blinded this one and the other one blinded him back. So there's no such story. So it's kind of comical when Gentiles use our laws and they come up with these fanciful stories that hey, aren't you supposed to, punch for punch and kick for kick? And I said, no, this is not a taekwondo match. Martial arts ring where we're supposed to kick for kick and punch for punch. I said, no, it's a totally different meaning. That is to do with justice. That is to do with fair compensation. But they don't understand these things. So I said that that's what those commandments actually mean. Fair compensation for individuals based on judges on the day, in that day, that make a decision for and against people that have been wronged. However, having said that, so I wanted to speak about holding a grudge and revenge, because as you know, this is common. In Leviticus 19:18 we are told, Lotikon ve lotitor et banai emecha. Do not take revenge or hold grudge against the children of your people. So here we have a Sefer Chinuch, a book called Chinuch. It tells us that if it is happening to us, it is by Him. And the Gemara, the Talmud says, the world does not stand only because of the people to close their mouth for when there is a fight. It is to control ourselves and close our mouth. And then the Gemara goes on to say, Kul emivira midotov lo'a kul be'ashav. Gemara also says that anybody that does not fight back and forgive them for things they did to him, Yahweh is also able to forgive that person easily. In other words, if somebody has wronged you, it is very important that you do the forgiveness first, yourself. Because you've been wronged, you might say, hey, I've been wronged, why should I forgive that person? He didn't come to me, and so on and so forth. And we have spoken about forgiveness at length, how that can cause people to have resistances in their body, and it can have blocks, and these blocks, these resistances can be in your organs. They can be in your liver, they can be in your heart, they can be in your lungs, and they can turn up as diseases. Hence why it's not about the other person coming to you and saying, hey, please forgive me. He doesn't have to come, he or she don't have to come. But you are doing it from your angle first, because you don't want to be carrying diseases because you hold a grudge against somebody else. Hence why, in order for you to meet your desires in life, receive the things that you desire and that are, good for you. I'm not just saying desire. A person can desire to have a 50-room palace, but it doesn't necessarily mean that the 50-room palace is going to be great for them. But yes, you can desire it. There's nothing wrong with desiring a 50-room palace. Having said that, nothing wrong with the desire itself. But in order to get that desire, forgiveness is important so that you don't hold any resistances in your body. And also that the God of Israel, Yahweh, does not hold grudge to punish us. So He says, do what I do. So this is a very important mitzvah, a good deed, a commandment, and it is important according to even the rabbis in the past spoke about this. The son of Habiyah, Rab Bibi, once Rab Bibi met the angel of death and said, and the angel of death, when he met him, he said, I'm going to get someone's soul today. Her name is Miriam, the fixer of hair of people. She's basically a hairdresser. So he went and brought the wrong Miriam. He ended up killing somebody different, and after he killed the wrong Miriam, apparently according to the rabbi's story, the rabbi asked, what are you going to do now? The angel of death said, Yahweh will not take anyone whose time is not to die. So it must have been her time. He asked him, what if you killed by mistake? Then the angel said, no one died in out of time. He said, I'm going to leave them around. Their neshama, their soul, is going to fly around, and they're going to stay right here until time to go up. Rab Bibi, the rabbi, said, wait, what is going to happen the years the lady lost if she lost 20 years of her life? Then the angel said, the person who let go and didn't hold a grudge, those 20 years taken from this lady will go to that person and give them long life. The long life comes from people who did not hold grudge or take revenge. So we see in the story of Joseph, he said, I am your brother, Achichem. Why? This is because Joseph was a righteous, a upright man. He forgave his brothers that wronged him, did not hold a grudge or did not think about doing revenge. So we are told that our enemies will be tried and defeated by Rachel's children. The Gemara says, Shate Adashim, 2 lentils, or it means a little bit of lentils. The husband says to him, or to his wife, and he says, to make lentils, and she only makes 2 lentils. In other words, 2 pieces of lentils. He comes home and becomes upset. He said, cook for me, se'ah adashim, means a pound or a lot of lentils in Hebrew. And then tomorrow when she goes to cook, she cooks a pound of lentils. Again he goes for and he sees that that's too much. Then he tells us and says, go get me 2 watermelons. Botsini in Aramaic means watermelons, or it could mean 2 candles. So she goes and she, instead of bringing Botsini, watermelons, she brings Botsini 2 candles. He's very upset. Now he tells his wife, I want you to go and break these 2 candles by the door. Now the word he uses for the door in the Aramaic is Baba. So it says Baba in Aramaic means a door. He says break the candle by the door, meaning Baba. She thinks he's saying to break the candles on Baba Ben Bhuta's head. Now Baba Ben Bhuta was a very famous rabbi in ancient history. So she goes to the place of worship where Baba Ben Bhuta sits. She goes and breaks the candles on his head. My goodness, it's funny. So she breaks the candles on his head, and this is not a small, unknown man. He was one of the greatest scholars of his days. Very, very famous. And she goes and breaks the candles on his head. He's not upset. He asks her, he knows this is somebody's wife. He asked her why she did that. She said that her husband told her to. So you know what he said to her? He said, I'm going to give you a blessing. I'm going to give you a bracha that you're going to beget 2 sons like Baba Ben Bhuta, like me, who are going to be scholarly and very, very knowledgeable in the Torah. So apparently she, who is a kosher woman, who listens to her husband, now kosher here meaning somebody who's, faithful, loyal, she listens to her husband, is obedient, to a kosher husband, of course, also equally a faithful, loyal, obedient husband, where they have a beautiful relationship, wife and husband together. And he said they'll find favor. So Baba Ben Bhuta is a type of person, type of rabbi, a teacher, who not only did not take revenge, but actually gave a blessing back. And when I read the story of Baba Ben Bhuta, it reminded me of my great grandfather, whose name was also Bhuta, by the way. Kind of stark reality. And he was also a judge. He was a very famous judge in his place. And so there are many rabbis in ancient times and today who practice not holding a grudge against somebody else. There is a story about Rabbi Tusadia who died on the Shabbat. They said it's Shabbat, we cannot do anything, so we will wait till Sunday to do the burial. While they were waiting, Rabbi Yochanan, he sees the dead rabbi's face, he's crying and laughing. So someone came to Rabbi Yochanan and said, I don't think he's dead. The rabbi came back to life. He said, I went to Alam Haba in the other world. They showed me everything, then I came back. They sent me back. Then they asked him, why are you crying and laughing at the same time? He said, why I cry is because the angel gave me permission. The angel gave permission to take me away, take my life. He said, I cry. The second I laughed because they looked at my record and they said, you have to go back for your reward, as he had never held a grudge or revenged anybody. So he stayed alive many years after that time until he finally died. So, is it permitted to take revenge or not? The Gemara elaborates that if someone didn't do good to you, you ask them, they don't do it then we have this scenario in Israel. This is like a make-believe scenario. It could be like this. Reuben had a fire in his house. He goes to his neighbor. His neighbor is Shimon. Shimon, his neighbor, says, I don't have anything, go away. By the time Reuben gets back to his house, all his furniture is burnt. Now 2 years later, Shimon goes to Reuben and says, could you please put a good word for my son to go to a good school, as Reuben had influence there. He could have said, Reuben could have said, I'm not going to do that, as my furniture burnt, as you didn't help. Well, what is the right answer? For Reuben, it would be, I would be more than happy to put your son through to this school. That could be one scenario. Second scenario, you drop your car in the garage. You ask your neighbor to drop you to the garage to pick up the car before the garage closes. Your neighbor refuses. Few days later, the neighbor, could be Shimon in this case, he comes to you, Reuben, and says, I need your help to load my car. Either Reuben can say nothing and turn his face away, or say, I cannot do it because I don't have time, or something like that. Now, is this considered revenge? This, by the way, is not considered revenge, as you did not hold any grudge. You didn't have an ugly face. You didn't swear at Shimon, your neighbor. You did not give him a lecture back saying, I'm not going to do it because of this. You did this to me the other day. So that is the difference between a grudge and not holding a grudge. Halakha. Now, what if the person is a bad neighbor? How do we assess if he's a bad neighbor? Similar situation came up with someone in European Jewry, wherein a Jewish man was saying Lashon Hara against another one. He was speaking badly about another person. Then Shimon, Shimon was present in a meeting where the rabbi got up and left to not listen to the Lashon Hara. In other words, this person was doing some slander, but the rabbi decided he's not going to be part of this slander. He just got up and left, didn't say anything. So, now it depends why you want to get up. You can do it because he's a bad neighbor, so it's permitted to just get up and go. But if your intention is for revenge or embarrass him, then you're not to do that. So, the best revenge is to make yourself a better person. You are above revenge and grudges, and walk your life in Torah, good deeds, and you get the best reward. That's basically a little bit on revenge and why we shouldn't be looking at revenge. Now we're going to look next at our Pasha. So let us come back to our Torah and our Pasha, Nisavim, which is the book of Deuteronomy, chapters 29, verses 10. We're going to have a little look at that and just have a quick assessment of that. It says, you stand this day, all of you, before Yahweh your power, you captains of your tribes, your elders and your officers with all the men of Israel, your infants, your wives, and the foreigners that are in your camp, from the woodcutters to the mine water carriers, that you should enter into covenant with Yahweh your power and into his oath, which Yahweh your power makes with you this day. In other words, that the officers being judges, that when you re-enter, like many people today are away from Israel, in the sense that they may be part of Israel, but they have not entered a covenant. So the church teaches you that, hey, believe in Jesus, repent in Jesus' name, and receive salvation. However, the Torah does make no such commandments to us. The Torah says that you are to enter into a covenant, or re-enter into a covenant. In other words, if you are part of a covenant and you kind of departed from that in some way, shape or form, that you were no longer part of the covenant, meaning that you kind of backslid. You said, well, I don't want to tithe, I don't want to keep kosher, I don't want to eat, permissible meats, I can just do whatever I want, I want to eat whatever out there, gumbo and jumbo and everything, so you want to eat everything. You don't care about what God's law says. So you kind of, in that regard, what we consider that is you've departed from the covenant. You're no longer a party to the covenant which God made. Now you're just, doing your own thing. You're your own king, and you don't care about what the King of Kings says. So when that happens, then what the commandment of the Torah, the law is this from the I said law of Yahweh. Many people call it law of Moses. So the law of Moses, which is the law of Yahweh, it says that you have to enter back into that covenant. In other words, repent, return back. Repent means to turn away from whatever you're doing and go back to the covenant of Yahweh, the God of Israel. And you might say, okay, I did this thing for a year, 2 years, and I found nothing. I got nowhere. I thought I'll go to this church and I'll be great, and I found nothing. All I found was hardship, misery, suffering, and I got nowhere with this so-called theology in the church. And now you might decide that, you know what, I have to go back to the covenant. Guess what Yahweh says? You have the officers and the judges. Officers are the judges of Yahweh's Torah, laws of the days that they're inaugurated. In other words, like for instance, I sit as a Kohen in the gate and as a judge, and Rabbi Kifa is as a judge in the tribe of Judah. And the purposes of this is not that we are going to look out for criminal judgment, but if you came to me and said, Kohen, I want to turn back into the covenant, I want to return back to the covenant of God, and please help me how to do that, then I could guide you, or you could go to Rabbi Kifa and ask for that. Then I could guide you and to say, well, the commandment is this, the custom or the tradition is this, that in order to turn back, an officer of the court, Yahweh's law's court, not the other court, Gentile court. So as an officer of the court, that would be me, that would be Rabbi Kifa, that are appointed here, that you have to come to us and you do a coming back into the covenant. In other words, you're going to say that I'm going to join back Abraham's covenant, and we are to hear you. And we are to hear you say that. Then on top of that, there's a whole process and procedure in the Forever Israel or Abrahamic-Faith Siddur. I do have a whole procedure there that shows you how to enter back the covenant. And based on that process, we'll get to hear your testimony, or we get to hear you say, well, yes, I made some mistakes, I went away, I did my own thing for a number of years, I got nowhere, I got crushed, I got suffered, I lost my marriage, blah, 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 all these things happened to me. Now I realize my mistake, that hey, I left God, now I want to come back to God, and I want you to help me, help hear me, because you're the appointed people of God, and you can help listen to my testimony, or listen to my oath, because it talks about an oath. Look what it says here, that you should enter into covenant with Yahweh of power and into His oath. So how do you take an oath? Well, you're going to take it in front of judges. So you're going to take this oath in front of me, Rabbi Kifa, for argument's sake, and then you are to give an offering. Yes, there is an offering as well. Usually, an offering is made of $50 or more when you enter back into the covenant. And that is establishing you as a child of God, as part of the Abrahamic faith covenant once again, that you may have departed. Now this is for somebody who may have departed, who was part of the children of Israel and left and did his own jumbo thing, and now decided to come back. Now, what about a Gentile? A Gentile is somebody who had no connections with Israel whatsoever, no bloodline connections, never left, never was part of Israel, but today he decided that I want to be part of the tribes of Israel. I want to be part of God's people. So he can come in and do exactly the same and say, hey, I want to be part of your tribe of Israel, I want to enter into your covenant. Then we do the same thing with him, and we make him part of the covenant people. So because Yahweh says that in verse 14, neither with you only do I make this covenant and this oath. He says, but with him that not only stands here today before Yahweh, your power, but also him that is not here today. In other words, it could be a genealogy, a son of a son of a son, an ancestor, a part of the ancestry. It could be a part of Bani Israel, part of the children of Israel, or it could be somebody totally foreigner who is a total Gentile who just says, hey, I want to join Israel. I want to join your spiritual Israel. I want to be a part of Israel. I want to have redemption. I want to apply all the laws to myself. I want to do everything, the tithes, the permissible meats, and everything else. I'm leaving my gumbo behind in Louisiana or wherever it's from. So, because Louisiana people love their gumbo. So, having said that, he could say, I want to leave all of that behind. That's not for me. I did that. I got nowhere with it. Forget it. It doesn't lead me to blessings. It's actually led me to further demise of myself. So, he does that. And then afterwards he comes back into the covenant. Now, he's a rightful heir to blessings, to honor, to all sorts of things that God has commanded to Israel is now also commanded to him. So, I wanted to bring you to Deuteronomy chapter 30, verse 19. Absolutely rock on key to life and blessings. It says, I call this day the heavens and the earth to record this day against you that I have set before you life and death, blessing and curse. Therefore choose life, that both you and your seed may live. Wow, that is absolutely a mouthful. What does that actually mean? Now we can look at this philosophically and we can look at it physically. Physically, what God is saying to you, if you are part of Israel, if you have entered into the covenant, now start using your imagination and receiving the life that you deserve, receiving the blessing that you deserve. Or, if you're going to live in the old ways, then guess what? You're living in the ways of curses, suffering, hardship. Because if you just live by the day, then that's the order of the day. But when Yahweh says choose life, what does life mean? Life means to choose a good imagination. Set your goals. Set yourself things that you desire that are great, that are permitted and great. Having a wife, if you wanted a spouse, having a house if you needed a place to live, driving a car that you wanted to drive. What's wrong with that? Nothing. These are all good things. So this is why Yahweh is saying choose life. Here life is metaphoric also for good imagination, good purpose in life. And so you set forth your goals and you say, hey, I'm going to have a nice 3-bedroom house or a nice 2-bedroom apartment that I can live in a nice neighborhood. That is my goal. So shall it be. You set it for yourself. So henceforth, my point is very simple. That you have, decided that, hey, things are not working out good for me. And I've done my little routine, of being outside the box kind of thing. And I mean the box, I mean the bigger world. You're outside into the bigger world. You said, I'm going to decide to just live my way the way I want to. I don't really care about what God says. I'll only care about what I say, and I live by my life, and so on and so forth. So you have departed, or maybe you were never part of God's people. You already just lived in the world, and now you say to yourself, you know what, I've done all of that, it got me nowhere, and now I'm going to come back. So you come back, and so on and so forth. So that's where we are with these commandments, by the way. Also, I wanted to inform you that I just remembered a little testimony of my student Jacob, who is in New York. He wrote to me a small email, and he indicated that he actually got his new job. And you remember that we spoke about how to get a job and what affirmations work best in such a scenario, and we kind of discussed that and visualization practices. And he actually got his job, permanent job. Very happy. I'm very happy for him. Also, he told me that not only did he get a job, but he indicated that he spoke about getting a car as well, which I obviously hadn't indicated to me earlier. And he said that I also wanted to get a car, and all I did, he said for the job, from what he told me, I mean, let me see, because he wrote a little something to me, a little email, and I'm just going to have a quick perusal on that. So what my student said for the process of the job, he said that after he did his, he wrote his affirmation down, and he said that he was writing his affirmations 5 times every day for 4 days, every morning. And then he said after that he detached himself completely from the job process, and he did his, I guess, 3 days of visualization, 4 days of writing it down, because we're talking about a short period of time over here. The reason why this was a short period, because he only had 2 weeks, and he had to get this thing done within 2 weeks, because he told me prior to the previous contract ending, he told me a little late. So he said, I'm sorry I came a little late, but I just lost my other contract, and that's basically, only got a few days to go, and I got to find another job. So I said to him, okay, well, this is what you do. You write such and such affirmation down, and you write your script every day, then you do your visualization, then you stop, and then you detach, and no longer need to do that, wait for the result. So he did that, he followed that through, and he wrote that he got his job satisfactorily, he's very happy now. Now that's obviously the second rung of the ladder for him. There's more to come. Now, thirdly, he said that he had desire to get a car, and all he did for the car, he said, I focused on the model that I wanted, a specific model, and he said, I focused on it, obviously for a few days. He looked at it, he kind of set it in his mind. He may have done a little bit of visualization on it. He didn't specify how long he did the visualization, how many days. And he said within 2 weeks, he said 2 weeks later, he had the car parked on his driveway. I believe the car, he said, was if I'm not mistaken, it was a RAV4, I believe. RAV4 XLE Premium. He said he leased it for 3 years from the garage. So he said he's also driving a new car as well now. So Baruch Hashem, Yahweh, very happy for him that he got his car and his job, and now he can focus. I guess he can focus on his family, on his spouse, on his wife, and obviously children ahead. He's obviously going to have children too. So that's basically where we are with that particular thing going on. And other than that, I'm going to say that as per the Torah, the laws, one second. So as per the laws of the Torah, as I said, that I'm very happy for my student Jacob, Baruch Hashem Yahweh, that he has been blessed. And as I've said to you numerous times, no number of times I've said it, many times, that you have a commanded blessing on you. And you got to claim that commanded blessing from God. You don't just think, oh, I got a commanded blessing, I'm going to do nothing. No, you got to claim it for yourself too. That's very important. So it is very important for you to set an affirmation. For instance, first, as I've said numerous times, you got to know what you want. And what do you desire in life? What is it that you're trying to get? A job, a house, a car, wealth. And what is wealth? Wealth is a word by itself, but wealth means different things to different people. For one person, wealth could mean I have a business, and I have a thriving business. I'm making, X amount of money a year. To different people, it means different things. So it's not a word that we can use universally. Wealth has different connotations to different people. To one person, wealth could mean that he has a $1 million business. To another person, wealth could mean that I have $10 million in the bank. And to another third person, it could be that I have sufficient money in the bank to cover all of my payments for the year. So, as I said, wealth to different people is different meanings, not one universal meaning. So, when you say I want to be wealthy, that meaning only you can tell what you mean by that. There needs to be further clarification about it. What do you mean by I want to be wealthy? What does that mean? Does that mean that you want to have money to pay all your bills for the whole year? You want to have money to pay your house off, money to pay your car off? Again, I'm just saying these are questions that only the individual can answer for themselves. So, you need to know what you want. And when you say I am wealthy, you need to know what that means to you. Because every person's wealth is different things to them. And so, I leave it at that. This is why it's very important. Once you've decided that you make that part of your daily meditation, daily recitation, affirmation, I am wealthy, I am healthy, these are things. I am healthy, to most people it means I am without any disease. But to some other people it means that if I have an illness, then my illness is healed or possibly under full control. That's why I said it's different meanings to different people. To me, when I say I am healthy, it means I have no disease and I'm not taking any medication, and I don't desire to either take any medication, and I'm going to live a healthy life. That's what that means to me. Now, again, to you, it may mean different things. Again, it's to you yourself what you decide. So, when you say I am healthy, basically it means no medication, no illnesses, and no need for medication. So you go with that understanding, and you then start doing the affirmation, I am healthy. And when you do the affirmation, I'm wealthy, you have to decide what that means. I don't know, and I can't put meanings to that. But for me, wealth means different things. To you, it might mean another thing, as I explained earlier. So just follow that instructions and decide what wealth means to you. I usually say to people, be specific about your wealth question. Hence why I'm very particular about things, because you can't just say, hey, I want to have some more money. Well, what does that mean? I want to have more money. What do you want to have? $5 more, $10 more, or $10,000, or $100,000, or $1 million? See, so it's no good just saying, oh, I like to have more money, because that is very vague, very ambiguous. It's neither here nor there. It's like just being in the raft, and one way you're going left, next one you're going right, and next minute your boat is crashed in the sea and you're upside down. So you have to know what you want. When you say I want to be wealthy, make sure that you know what that means. To me, wealthy means having $1 million in the bank and having plenty of money laid over to live the next, potentially 10, 15, 20 years without worry. That's what wealth means to me. Wealth don't mean to me that, oh, I just have enough bills to pay and cover for this year. To me, that's not wealth. To me, wealth is that, or either you could have a business that generates maybe $1 million a year, and you out of that business, you pay your taxes, and you take away, $200 to $300 to $400 or whatever, $500,000 a year. That to me is a certain kind of wealth, good wealth to have. So if you have that kind of wealth, that's great. And that's the kind of wealth that you should aim for, is where you can have a business and where you can have money rolling in every month from your business, and you don't have to worry about any bills. Your house is paid for, your car is paid for, and all you have to worry about is paying taxes on your bills, on your income, and you just have to pay for food. That to me is good wealth to have and good model to follow. And or it could be, to another person, when they say I want to have money in the bank, they could mean, well, I like to win the lottery jackpot, and lottery jackpot, depending on what kind of jackpot you do, lottery you fill, I don't know if it's going to be the Powerball that gives you many millions, can give you over $40 million win, Or the mega could give you over $40 million win. It could be a state lottery that gives you maybe, $1 million or above, or possibly below. All these things, these questions, you can answer for yourself, and then you can write it down. Now, those of you, who asked me this question about the lottery wins, and I have told you in the past that you need to write your affirmations in the present tense, that you are a grand prize winner of such and such, whatever that lottery is. And you receive it in that particular way. And you got to do the script, daily scripting, and you got to do the daily mirror technique as well. And the daily mirror technique and the daily script will help you go a lot far than where you are presently. So, having said that, as I have said to many people before, there are absolutely no problem about responding to people who want me to help them write their affirmations, because then I can help you hone down on what you need to do. So please, now that I'm in travel mode, I do not have access to an American line. So if you SMS me or send me a text message, if you have my telephone number, it's really of no use, because I'm not in the US right now, and my number is shut down, so that won't work. But you could email me to Shimon63, SHIMOUN63 @yahoo.com. That's SHIMOUN63 @yahoo.com. You could write your concerns, what you're trying to do, that you have such and such request, you're trying to write such and such affirmation, you need help. Then I could respond to that email. As I pick up my email, as I have internet, and Yahweh willing, Master Yehoshua willing, I'll be able to respond to your email, in my travels, and you can be on your merry way to sweet success and abundant life ahead. And my job, my role is to assist you in how to get there, and if there are any hurdles, how to get over the hurdles. So, let me just give you a synopsis that will help you. If I haven't been very clear before, I hope I have, but there's so much information, sometimes it's difficult to put it into succinct words. That's why I decided to write the book that is out there on Amazon called The Perfect Law versus, The Law of Attraction versus a Perfect Law. That title is available on Amazon, and that has everything in it, in like steps that you can carry out. I feel that maybe another book is meant to be written, but then that may take a little while, so I'm not writing it yet. But having said that, the steps are very simple. First, you need to know what you want. You narrow down what you want. And also I explained earlier about your wealth. Don't just say I am wealthy. I mean, you can say that as a general rule, but you need to know what that means to you, and then ascribe that meaning to that particular word, and then you can even speak out of the amounts that you desire. So if you just say I'm wealthy, that's great, but you can also say I am wealthy and have $10 million in the bank. See, that now hones it down. Not just saying I am wealthy or saying I am wealthy and have $10 million in the bank are two different statements, have two different meanings now. So therefore I need you to know that for yourselves. So the formula is know what you want first. Second, write that down, make an affirmation out of it. Great, now you've done that. Now you can read that affirmation 5 times a day. In other words, put that affirmation on an index card, carry that index card with you, read it 5 times a day. Maybe every 4 hours, maybe every 3 hours, whatever schedule you set on your telephone, it can prompt you, and you read that every 3 hours, and it's with you every day. Okay, you might think, my goodness, do I have to read this the rest of my life? No, you don't. So what you have to do is, that is your plan of action. read it 5 times a day. Okay, how many days? Now you're going to do the visualization on that. You're going to do the reading 5 times a day. You're going to do the visualization. Your visualization should not have to be more than 3 days. Now you might say, I'm going to do 4 days, 5 days, maybe even a week. You might decide, I'm going to visualize on this thing every day for a whole week. Fair enough. You can do that. But I might tell you instead, I'm only going to visualize for 3 days. Boom, finish. No more visualization after 3 days. And I'm only going to recite my script for the next 3 days as well. So 3 days of visualization, 3 days of script writing, and 3 days of script reading 5 times a day. Okay? Once I've done that for one set of commandments, or maybe two set of affirmations. When I say commandments, I mean affirmations. 2 sets of affirmations. Once I've done that, I'm done dusted with those particular affirmations, and I stop. After 3 days of visualizing, reading 5 times, I stop. I go into sleep mode. In other words, for the next 10 days, 10 days to 2 weeks, 10 to 14 days, I'm going to say, boom, nothing. I'm not going to speak about those things. I'm not going to recite those things. I'm not even going to visualize those things. I'm done with it for 2 weeks. After 2 weeks, I look back and I say, well, have I got my desire yet? And if the answer is yes, then I tick it off, put it into my little workbook which says completed goals, and seal it, and I'm happy with it. If my desire hasn't been met, after 2 weeks, I go back to the same cycle and repeat one more time. So 3 days of visualization, 3 days of reciting the 5 times a day, stop again, 2 weeks wait, then start the cycle again. So I'm going to just repeat that cycle until my desire is met. I hope that it's, crystal clear now what you're supposed to do. Now you might say, Kohen, what do I do the next 2 weeks that I don't do nothing? Well, you may have only written 1 affirmation, or you may have written 2 affirmations. Those are the 2 you focused on. Now you might have something else that came up, a 3rd one, or a 4th one. Now you can write the 3rd and the 4th. In those 2 weeks, you can decide, hey, I also need this and that. And so you write that, this and that out. That could be another 2 affirmations. You write them out and you say, I'm going to do the same. I'm going to visualize these for 3 days. I'm going to read these 2 affirmations for another 3 days on my second set of my second index card, because now you separate your index cards into 2, because now you have a second set of affirmation, and you do exactly the same formula with this one until it's met. That's how simple this is, by the way. So hopefully it clears the air. It's no longer a mystery on how, but it's completely clear to you how it's to be done. I hope it's crystal clear that these are how these things to be done. If you're still not sure, you need assistance and help, as I said, I'm there. I can assist you and help you. With that in mind, I'd like to thank you for listening to me. This is a pre-recorded message, by the way, because as I'm traveling, I do not have the ability to do a message on the fly like a live message. It's not possible because internet is fast. Some places I have internet, other places I don't. So thank you for listening. Rabbi Kifa, over to you. You have a great Shabbat, great next week ahead to you. And until next time, Shalom Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, and Shalom Shalom. And also the festivals, those of you celebrating the lunar festivals, Rosh Hashanah, I wish you a great Rosh Hashanah. Chag Sameach. May Yahweh keep you in His steadfast blessings and abundance. Baruch Shem Yahweh. Toda Rabba. Shalom Shalom.